So I want to welcome one of our superstars. She is magnificent, and it's just such a wonderful delight to have Melissa Shea with us today. Melissa is the president of the Long Island Real Estate Investor Association since November of 2007. Melissa is licensed in New York and Connecticut as a real estate broker and licensed commercial loan officer. Regional owner of Exit Realty Connecticut and Rhode Island. Melissa began investing in real estate in May of 2004. By 2009, acquired a portfolio of over 360 rental units, currently completed over 600 rehab projects. She has completed over 100 million in real estate transactions and raised over 50,000 in private capital for real estate transactions. She is a leader in the real estate investing community, hosting monthly networking events and live workshops. Melissa is an international speaker and a two-time author with Mission Matters and the Jack Canfield Group. In 2019, was voted top 100 women in real estate. In 2020, she sold one of her companies to MBH, an international company, and was published in Forbes magazine. Pretty amazing, eh?
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot when you read it like that.
I know I'm not done yet. So
uh,
she's one of the founders of a not-for-profit organization, Clear the Way Supportive Housing Corp, for foreclosure prevention, homelessness prevention, and affordable housing, especially for those with disabilities. Melissa is a mother of 8 children. So welcome, Melissa. You've always been a shining star in my world.
You've been such a dear friend.
I know. We have such a camaraderie and such an alignment, especially around autism and neurodiversity. And
yeah,
amaze me.
Yeah.
So as you know, what we're doing with the World Autism Summit, we are moving the needle of understanding and success around autism around the world, because we want to connect people and help people, as many people as we can, around autism, because people are struggling out there.
And I think that's such a wonderful thing that you're doing the World Autism Summit, because for so many parents, I think they know it's very prevalent, but they feel still alone. So you're giving an outlet for people to connect. And I love that you put success around it, because sometimes society gives it a negative connotation, and yet there's so much beauty and success around children being on the autistic spectrum and what parents can do, So there's a lot more options, and yet we don't know it. It's only through my relationship with you and connecting with you that you've helped me connect to a world. So I am so grateful that you are doing this. It's going to help and empower so many other families that they have options and view this in such a positive light, So thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you too, Melissa. I know you've empowered a lot of families. You've helped a lot of families, and families do feel stuck.
Yeah,
I know I, as a parent, have also felt very, very stuck. I'm very helpless. I felt like my hands have been tied behind my back. Yeah. And I know a lot of other families have too. Fortunately, I've had, help along the way, but a lot of families do feel stuck. I know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, tell us.
When it comes to the financing piece, right? I really wanted to learn that so much. Even before I had children and was exposed to this part of my life, I just really wanted to understand the mechanisms of money, and that there's a game of money that we're just taught the wrong way. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, and get a career. And if, the last 30, 40 years have proved all they did was get into debt, and they have no retirement, right? So whether you have children on the autism spectrum or not, I think this information will help. But I really geared it to people like us that face those challenges and say, a lot of parents lose their jobs or are forced to change their jobs. I mean, I can't tell you how many IEP meetings and 504 meetings I got to go to, and doctor's appointments, and no one can hold a full-time 9 to 5 job and do all those responsibilities, especially if you have multiple children, which tends to happen in families, right? For me, I have 3, so it's
But you have eight kids though.
yeah, I have still
3
8
was,
children and then 3 on the spectrum. So you
yeah,
have, you're talking about 6 IEP meetings, and then they have special meetings, and then they have their evaluations. And so, it's a lot of time off of work. And so employers view them as non-productive employees.
I know.
Parents feel the guilt that they need to leave their job and take care of them full time, and some do. Some have, depending on how where they are on that spectrum, may need more care. And then what happens to a highly educated person who has made large sums of money all their life, and now they're in this predicament? How do they make that money last?
They're almost penalized in a way.
They are, and it's so shocking because it's not what you think, right? Your perception of what your future will be like, and even if you were diligent, like I planned for my 401k, I started my Roth IRA, and I have these all things, then a child comes in your life. Any child will uproot that whole system, but then add the complexity of the cost of what an autistic child. There's some reports that'll go into the presentation, is about $60,000 a year is the average cost to caring for a autistic child, and to put that additional expense on a parent that's not expecting it, especially in low income areas, these become very, very challenging. So what I thought, based on what you had asked me to do on this, is maybe come up with just 2 solutions that might help parents cope with some of those challenges. And that's what today's event is going to be about.
Awesome. So I was just going to ask you how you're going to make a big impact, because it is a global summit, the world around your area of expertise too. So just to keep that in mind, because we're talking to the planet.
Talking to
everybody.
So it's very cool because I just sold my company in 2020 to a UK company. And we meet in Singapore, we go to Dubai, I go to England. Some of my colleagues are in New Zealand and Australia. So I realized that both, no matter where we are on this earth, we still face those challenges, same challenges, you know what I mean? And autism and jobs and equality and all that stuff, whether we face here, they face there. So so anything I talk about will apply to everybody, more specifically for Canada and the US for one part, but open it to everybody. So
super. Okay, so I think without further ado, I'll start asking your questions then.
Okay.
What's one of the biggest challenges facing parents of children on the autism spectrum?
Kind of a little bit of what we were talking about, right? Is the challenge is that there's a lot of jobs that wind up getting lost because the demand on them to take sick days off. So if they don't have an enormous amount of holiday pay or compensated paid time off, they're usually inconvenienced, and it's not easy to find doctors for your children anyway. And then when you do, it's generally during the workday. So I find that parents are put into a position where they're losing their jobs, they have to change careers, or they just have to take care of their child full time. So those are some of them. The additional costs of what having a autistic child will add to. I mean, we know that a lot of them have to have special tablets if they're not verbal, and certain softwares, and weighted blankets and vests and things like that. And also medications, can get expensive. And not every country has all those services available, and they have to pay it out of pocket. Sometimes the insurance company covers it, sometimes they don't. So there's the added expenses and the loss of employment, but then also time, right? They don't you have to have that flexibility. When your child has a meltdown, it's not like you can just walk out of the house and say, I got to get to work on time. So there's moments where you're like, I need that flexibility in my time, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's another challenge I find for parents is added costs, flexibility in time, and not fitting in that pigeonhole of the 9 to 5 anymore.
That's true. So tell me, Melissa, how did you get started with what you do?
So what happened was, I had gone to, I had a travel agency. I was doing very successful in my first business. I bought it when I was like 18, 19 years old. I was very excited because I wanted to travel the world. So I thought rather than spend all the money, I would go be a travel agent and get a discount. And then I just bought the business and it was a lot bigger of a discount. And I was doing great until 2001 when the towers came and they got collapsed. And I was living and working, and my office was in New York. And so literally I had 72 people in the air in different places. It took me 3 weeks to get them back home. And as soon as they got home, a week later, I had a couple go on a flight from New York, JFK. They were heading down to Santo Domingo, and their plane crashed in Rockaway Beach, and they had died. And so I realized how unstable my business was. And so I looked for better options, and I found real estate investing. Andrew Carnegie wrote that 90% of all wealth was created from real estate. So it was that at that time when I lost literally my whole business overnight that I thought, let me study this more. Let me get a bit more familiar. I was fortunately able to build up my travel agency enough that I could get a small business loan, and I started my real estate career off of that. And I did it for passive income. Everybody uses that word like, rich dad, poor dad, right? You have that E quadrant, right? You have the employer side, and then you have the business owner side, the E and the employment and the self-employment are really kind of trapped on one side. They get heavy taxes and they don't have that passive income. Then you go to the B and then the I of that quadrant, and that's the business owner and the investor. And that's where you can learn how to make money off your money. And once I got that concept, I realized real estate was the easiest and fastest way for me to do it. And so I started doing it that way. And I guess I started, and my son was born. My son was born right after September 11th. I did not know he was going to be diagnosed. I knew he had some challenges, but it wasn't a formal diagnosis till he was in second grade, because I'm a new mom, didn't know how to get the evaluations done and stuff like that. And then I realized there was going to be a lot more challenges coming ahead. And so I was able to transition to have residual income come in, not just in real estate, but in other forms, so that, after my passing, my children will be, I'm providing for my lifetime and for theirs. And that's what parents need to, I think that gives us peace of mind when we can do that, right? Like, and I know you've had the experience, right? Where, you're in the past, you've had a real estate portfolio that was ran by somebody else, you inherit it, and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Right.
Didn't want to deal with that. So, you got to face the fact too that maybe children can't run a portfolio. So what other options are there for them, so that it's real estate based, because it's backed by real estate, but that they get set dividends every month or every quarter or every year, And so once I saw my son and realized some of the challenges, and then I had 2 more, I realized I had to really kick it up into gear. So
kick it up.
Well, you read my resume, it was all because, oh my God, I got to create all this money for my lifetime and yours.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, they were my driving factor. But you know what I found is, along this journey, there were other parents I would run into, and they'd be downtrodden and depressed, and because there's no illumination. There's no teaching of this in school. There's
not.
I mean, unless you read a Robert Kiyosaki book or go for some mentoring, and even that, the Robert Kiyosaki is the aha moment, right? The aha moment that, oh, the game is different, right? The game of money is different. But then the intricate part of somebody helping you bridge that gap, that's even harder to find. So I set up a mentoring and a training program, and now I coach parents how to do this. I'm very blessed to have had several autistic families, and we kind of get a game plan together as a family unit. And I love watching them each time they buy. So it's really great. And but yeah, it's not just planning for your lifetime financially. We have to, unfortunately, social services is minimal at best. It's obviously some reform that needs to be done there. It's something, but it's
not just getting by, it's survival. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yes. And then there's other countries that don't even have anything.
Right.
So that's why I look at this, and you and I have been exploring new creative ways to find housing for those with disabilities,
Right. Oh, yes.
And we're making some progress on that, but it's a bit challenging. There's a lot of obstacles to overcome.
Very.
Yeah. But summits like yours helps bring those people together. So like if I'm putting it out on this summit to say, hey, anybody interested in growth and development for single family homes for or housing for those with disabilities, adult children, so they have their independence, but they have the support services in place, contact me. I'd love to help it grow. That's the whole point, is this summit is connecting these
like-minded,
families.
like-minded individuals. That's right. That's right. We're trying to do, help people think outside the box and, not put people in boxes.
Yeah, and I've raised over $50 million for projects like these, and I have assets under management close to 100 million. And so I've had the experience of putting these things together, but I'm so fragmented in this part of the world. I could use somebody who really understands engineering, designing, those kind of things. Additional capital, because that doesn't build a lot. It sounds like a lot of money, but it really doesn't. Especially with today's prices. So I think what you're doing on the summit is really great and extremely practical, and enlightening us it's just great. So yeah, and if I can have a small part, and if I can have a small part in helping other families that are facing these challenges, feel free to reach out to me. We give a lot of free content out. You can sign up for free seminars and stuff like that, just because it's such a vast topic, right? And they're only taught one way, right? We're only taught one way in school, get good grades, go to college, get into debt, get a good job that pays good benefits. And then you do all that, and then you can't afford a house because your debt to income ratio is too high with your student loans. And I've seen too many families get crushed by this. So this is very positive ways,
So how can a family preserve their wealth?
Well, there's two ways. I put in a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if I can.
Yes, you can.
All right. So
you're the driver.
I'm the driver on this one.
You're the driver. Yes, you are in the driver's seat.
So this was kind of like a little summary of some of the things that we kind of talked about, some of my experience and stuff like that. When I found out my children were on the spectrum, what did that mean for me and financially and stuff like that? I felt like that woman, like so overwhelmed and confused. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Is when you're, we're talking about 1 in 59 children are born with or diagnosed with autism today on the spectrum.
I think it's higher.
Is it probably? It probably is.
30, and I think now.
Is it? It's just counting? Yeah, but it's a global problem, right? And what does it do? It adds to those costs, right? So this was from Autism Speaks, a statistic about 60,000 per year. Interesting. This is very important to mothers and children's with ASD are likely to work outside home, and with an average of 56% of mothers with no health issues, and they earn 35% less than the mothers with disabilities. So it's a significant discount in pay because they got to take a job that's convenient for their schedules. And so that's often working at convenience stores or restaurants or waitresses, which is hard. And so that's kind of what we were talking about. But what happened was, I figured one way that could help parents, right? There's two strategies we're going to focus in on. One is creating wealth, and one is preserving wealth. And the creating wealth comes from, I found being a real estate agent really helped quite a bit. When I was pregnant with, I was always pregnant because I had 8 kids, right? So I was always pregnant.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. I needed more flexibility in my time. So I was able to work with the obviously investors. And when I worked with investors, I earned money as an agent, right? And I worked for a different company, and, you know, getting a real estate license, everybody's like, oh, that's an easy way to get in. Not a lot of requirements as far as education and things like that to do. You know, it's usually 75 or 90 hours of credits you got to do. Very easy barrier of entry. But what you need to do is align yourself with somebody who will teach and train you the industry. So, you know, education becomes important in that, and marketing, because you're wearing lots of hats. But what I found is that you could team up with somebody. So we have an example of these women. There are 5 women in Texas, right? They're part of the Exit family. And what they do is they all have children on the spectrum. And what they do is they rotate the schedules so that if someone has an issue with the child, they just call, they have the emergency backup person, and that person will handle the open house or meeting a client or something like that. And they've worked out so that their clients, they'll still get the same compensation, but they all cover each other fairly. And they all have off a rotating weekend. And so these are like really cool things. But what Exit, you know, the difference with Exit was, yeah, you know, most companies will have training, and they'll have branding and all these good things. But what they built in that helps our families so much is, and I'll go through these slides quite a bit, is they provide something called residual income. The founder of this company was from insurance industry, and he figured out that there was a gap in the market. I think a lot of us know agents that are in their 60s and 70s still doing real estate, knocking on doors because they need to get the listing, because they have to work, not because they want to work. And so there's no retirement benefits for people with in the retirement in the real estate industry. And because they're independent contractors, they're supposed to be saving for themselves. And most agents I know spend the money before they even get the commission check. So what Exit did was to help those ebbs and flows in life is, if you sponsor somebody into the company, for the life of the time they're with the company, you get what's called 10-7-5. 10 means the equivalent of the top 10% of what they do. Whatever they do does not affect their income. They still get their fair share, but 10% goes into a special account for you. And so if you're working full time, that 10% residual goes into that account, and you can use it for whatever you need. So I found my first year working with them, I didn't understand the concept. I had 40,000, it was like $42,000 into my account. Well, somebody with a child for autism, we said the average expense is $60,000. That could help offset those costs. It doesn't touch your personal income, doesn't do anything. Now, I put it in a separate account so I don't see it, and then I save it for a down payment, and I buy a piece of property with it. So that's another option you can do. So rather than just use it for paying expenses, you could use it to buy assets, which I highly encourage to do. So you could buy those assets with it. But here's what's even nicer. Let's say you have to stop working for a period of time. Maybe the work-life balance is not there. your child needs you more, you can step down from being a full-time agent and still get those residuals, but you get it at 7%. So you could retire and you get 7%. So you could stop working, don't do anything, and you still get 7%. So it's not contingent on you working. But this is the part that hit me in the heart, which every parent who has a child of autism, it's called the beneficiary benefits. So if I pass away, all my residuals now go into a trust that is a supple needs trust for my children, and they get those payouts for my lifetime. So it's not contingent on them doing any work. It's just everything that I worked hard for will go to them. So as long as those individuals stay with the exit family, they will continue to get paid. And it's a simple way of doing something no other organization will do. Nobody else will care enough, especially in the real estate community, to give you the residuals that you could use for your expenses now, assets later, and assets if you want to buy them for future legacy passing down of assets, or beneficiary payments, so that they can get an equivalent of an earned income. So I thought this was really nice. So if anybody's out there, they are in Canada, they started in Canada, and they are in the Canada and US, but they give the 1075. So that's the single level residuals, right? And so it's not based on a stock, it's not based on the company's productivity, it's based on you bringing somebody into the exit family. So feel free to just go to your local broker, or you can go to joinexit.com anywhere, and they will help you out. Gives you retirement benefits, and it gives you the legacy benefits. That means that after you're passed, your beneficiaries will still continue to get that income.
That's a dream come true.
Oh my gosh. So we had this story in Alabama. It might bring me to tears a little bit. I was a husband and wife, and he was with Keller Williams. He had a team. So Keller Williams having a team means that he had I think he had 10 people on his team. He was thinking of switching over, and it was right around COVID. And he said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. He switched his whole team over. They met with them in May. June, he said, you know what? I'm going to just switch it over. 6 weeks after he switched over, he died of COVID. And that was 6 weeks. She was a young mom. She had a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. But because he was now with us, or the exit family, I should say, she actually is earning over $60,000 a year. And she was a stay-at-home mom. And so she's so grateful. She went out and got her real estate license, and she's starting to get into the real, and that's without her even working. She got that. So
wow,
this
that's amazing.
Right?
Oh.
And then a whole bunch of us donated I donated a year of my sponsoring for some of my people to her, because and she had a whole bunch do it. So she made over $100 grand that year.
That's great.
But yeah, I think I would take my husband over $100 grand a year anyway. Yeah. But you know what? Could you imagine if you were in that situation, right? How grateful you would be to belong to an organization. Now, most people don't know. This company's been around 26 years, and I only learned about it 2 or 3 years ago. And I thought it was so powerful to help parents with autism. And one thing Exit is doing is Exit is matching dollar for dollar up to $5,000 for those that invest in the World Summit, the Autism Today's World Summit, because they have a charity where they give back to the community. And so we actually did it for our local chapter with autism, Nassau and Suffolk Division. And last year we raised, this year, April, we raised $23,000 for our local chapter. So and Exit contributed 5,000 of that. So that was really nice. So, and
Amazing.
yeah, they've paid out over $500 million in those residuals, but they've also spent $6 million in the charity benefits. They call it the Spirit of Exit. So
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you.
yeah, so that's the first strategy, right? So the first strategy is getting gainful employment that allows you flexibility. Do you know the average a real estate agent that gets training, like Buffini training or something like that, makes about $100,000 a year, no matter what area they're in. So between a $60,000 to $100,000 with flexibility in your schedule, where you can set your hours.
Mhm.
I don't know any other career that allows that and could work with families. So that would be the first one. The second one is preserving your wealth, right? So we talked about that. So one way is if you are an agent, you get the residuals, or you have IRAs. Most people don't know you can use your IRA to invest in real estate. And there's called self-directed IRAs. I mean, that would take me like 3 hours to explain, but it's possible.
It'd be hard to relate to other people like everywhere, you know, what that would be in other countries too, wouldn't it? Or
Yeah, so other countries have different retirement benefits, but what they don't have is, and I got to witness this firsthand when I went to the UK.
Mhm.
I looked at Singapore real estate, I looked at UK real estate, I looked at European real estate, I looked at Central America's real estate. Dubai is just ridiculously expensive. Do you know the US is the only one who has mortgages fixed for 30 years? Even Canada does not have as many. They have a lot more stringent requirements on mortgages. As I learned, it's not the same in Canada. So that's why they have very little defaults in Canada compared to, but the US has the highest defaults.
Huh.
But you can't go to the UK and get a 30-year mortgage. You can't even get a 5-year mortgage with the same interest rate. It'll always float. So they'll lock it in for like 3 years and then it floats. Could you imagine having an interest rate of 5% and then all of a sudden it goes to 7.5% in 1 year? And
Wow, yeah.
yeah, nothing you could do about it, right? So US real estate is actually a really wise idea.
Okay.
Did
Can anybody, you know, buy US real estate?
Yeah, they make it super easy for anybody in foreign countries to buy real estate here. I mean, actually, I think some days I joke around. I think real estate is owned more by foreigners than it is by natural citizens. But yeah, because it's that easy. You can set it up in an LLC.
Right.
Buy it here. You can have your money legally transferred here. Certain countries are restricted, you know, but you can use that to buy tangible assets in the US. You'll see a lot in Miami. Miami, people buy a lot in Miami and New York because it'll always hold its value. And it's a secured asset, right? They hedge against inflation and market money, like what is that state? Brazil, right? A lot of Brazilians will buy because their dollar fluctuates too much. Their currency fluctuates too much.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, I'm off topic.
No, but this is the point. Like anywhere, right? In the summit, whatever country. Now, to navigate and find who that is, that's why we set up a little bit of a service to help you. If you're bringing it in, you can do it in one of two ways. You can buy the asset yourself and have management, local management, to manage over it and report back to you. So that's a service that we started implementing and helping you build a portfolio. So let's just say somebody comes and they have maybe $500,000 in their IRA or whatever at that time, and they come to us. Well, we start getting a plan on how to build that out so that it'll continually grow from appreciation, tax benefits. There's a tremendous amount of tax benefits here. You do have to be a citizen to get advantage of those tax incentives, but if you are a foreign investor, you can defer your tax gains indefinitely. and pretty much.
Interesting.
And then if you just don't have the time, but have the money and the resources, you can invest in our fund. And we go out and it's, we call them special purpose vehicles. It's where we have a project and you can invest in that project and stay in that project. So either we can manage it for you or you could invest with us and we have our money there. So that's one way. I'll give you an example. We invest in what's called promissory notes. They're mortgage notes, right? And we do interest only. So I'm going to give you an example of this woman, Barbara. Sorry, Karen, if I'm talking too much, but I get excited about this.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah. So this woman, Barbara, she was one of the members of our organization. She was 62 years young. She had $500,000 in her retirement account. Her husband had passed away, and she was getting Social Security benefits of about $1,600 a month. By the time she came to me, she had already spent almost $100,000 of that money, and she had to live the rest of her life off that. At the pace she was going, she'd have probably 8, maybe 10 years tops, and then she'd run out of her money. So I sat down with her and I explained to her about promissory notes and how to preserve your wealth. So I said, listen, what if I put this into a fund, into a note? I put it on a note and it had a little bit of a risk to it. So she was a little bit more aggressive at the time. And she wound up getting a payment of $3,300 a month.
Whoa.
$3,300 a month. But what's amazing is it didn't touch any of the $450,000 she had left in there. It didn't touch the and she got that every month, which was double her Social Security. So her goal was to live next to her grandchildren till they grew up and went to college. So we did those notes for about 5 years, 6 years. They all graduated, and then she cashed out and she moved down to Florida, bought her house free and clear, and she still invests in notes, and she has a monthly income coming in every month.
Wow.
She will never outlive her money. That's the beauty.
That is great. Yes.
So those are the things that we do. So, to try to help families. So we underwrite the loans, we handle the whole transaction for them. And then they get paid either monthly, quarterly, or annually, depending on what kind of interest rates they want and what kind of risk they want. But it ranges from anything from 7 to 10%. And we've been doing that for 13 years. And I'm very happy to say we've never had a loan in default. We've had a defaulted loan. We've had extensions and workout arrangements. But our investors have gotten their principal back every time. So in 13 years, that's a very good track record. So.
Like I said, you're a star.
But you know what it was? Karen, it really came from necessity, right? I had to figure out a way, how can somebody who is facing retirement, the biggest fear for somebody in retirement is that they're going to run out of their money. And that they're just not going to have anything left, With this strategy, I love doing it for seniors because they never run out of their money. They have still something to leave their children, something if they want to, and they can live a comfortable lifestyle and a peace of mind. So that's the second strategy, is preserving wealth through real estate holdings and notes, whether it's managed or you own it yourself. That was a long explanation of it too.
That was beautiful. That's wonderful. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you answered the fourth question of why. Why is the real estate financial help for families, especially with kids on the spectrum? I think you did answer that pretty much woven into that answer. I think that was answered. But are there career paths for parents and adults with children on the spectrum within what you're talking about? I think that question you need to answer.
So depending on your child, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's certain similarities, right? So some are very careful to detail, uh,
Yes.
you know, they perceive things differently, but they're very good at the analytical part of it,
Right.
right? So real estate has so many different spectrums of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That allow them. So you have home inspectors. You could be a home inspector. Doesn't require a lot of social engagement. It allows them to, they're very good at fine tuning and picking
Mm-hmm.
things out. They're not held to a timeline. They get compensated pretty fairly for their day. So an average inspection could cost between $400 and $600. If they did one a day, they could earn a decent living. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. Appraisers right now, oh my goodness, there's such a shortage of appraisers.
Hmm.
Um, Surveyors, again, all things that don't require a lot of social interaction, because that seems to be the challenges some of our children have. But for those that don't, so there's a lot of analytical parts that can be compensated very well. My last surveyor, again, another shortage in the industry on the commercial survey, cost me $17,000.
Holy, really?
Yep, $17,000, and it took me 6 months to get it. So my
Whoa.
son's not known for his speed, but he's methodical and perfect with his
Yeah,
details.
very
Um,
accurate.
Extremely accurate, right? And they get to the fine print. But these are a couple of professions that would really help them out. So it's appraisers, and home inspectors, and surveyors.
That's really, really good to know. You're giving me ideas for my son.
Yeah, very cool, right? And they're also good for if they are working with, so let's say a mom is the social butterfly one, right? And is good going out in the field and stuff like that. Well, there's a tremendous amount of paperwork that has to go to being a real estate agent. But there's things like transaction coordinators where it's all computerized, which most of our children love. They love systems, they love organization. And so that can be very lucrative too. And it's a good way for you to still stay connected with your son or daughter, or so I'm training my son to try to get into that with me. So that helps out.
Number one, is it your oldest son or?
Yeah, my oldest. Yeah,
Yes, that's
super
good.
good. And the other thing is that they also could look at careers in marketing. And because marketing is really systematized, right? There's a lot of software that's used. And so it's just doing the same repetitive motions over and over again, which is comforting for a lot of children. So that's another career choice that that autistic children could have in the real estate field as well.
Like online marketing, you mean, right?
All online, all the social media marketing piece behind it. There's a lot of links on there and stuff like that. So they just take the videos and clip it and put it out there. But being seen as a real estate agent is so important. And the more you're seen, the more they can do. And again, it's an anonymity because it needs to be in front of everybody. And so that helps out too. So that's another part of the industry that could help them out.
That's been very helpful. That's really good ideas.
Right?
Yes.
So I think with that, and then for parents having careers in the real estate field, so I know that when my husband and I started out, I would do the real estate. I'd find the properties. My husband would do the work on the properties, and then we would we'd sell a few off and we'd keep a few, and then we had property management. Now that's something you could do as a family unit too, is help grow the family portfolio. So maybe your son or daughter could do the property management, like inputting the payments, sending out the letters, doing the leases, doing the background checks, and somebody else is in the forefront doing that too, because some can't drive, right? So if they have careers at home that they can do, that'll help them out quite a bit too.
Well, you have been a wealth of information. You always are. You always educate me and enlighten me so much, and everybody else, I'm sure. Though I can't see everybody's faces out there, I know you guys have really learned a lot today.
Good, I hope so.
And you have some things that are coming up really soon, right? That you can
Yeah.
tell people about?
Yeah, so we're starting some more educational online training programs. So if anybody wants to participate in that, we're going to be doing another autism raise in our community as well. And our biggest thing is we are working on our first community for single family homes for adults with that are on the spectrum that want their independence but have supportive services in the community. So we have a subject property in South Carolina. So if anybody wants to invest in that project, please let me know, because once we get a beta test out there, we can just kind of duplicate it in multiple cities. So that's what we're going to do.
That's great. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to?
So the easiest way is our event website is lireia.com, or Real Masterminds. It's capital R, capital EAL, masterminds.com. That is our real estate investment community. So we're going to be posting free content on that one all the time. So every week we put up new content. So just sign up. It's totally free, just like what you're doing. We're here to promote education in this space, take off a little bit of the pressure financially, because that's all I really know. I'm not too good with the social services part. I defer to you on that, but yeah, if this helps one family, I'm grateful for it. So
that's great. So do you have anything else that you want to share or ask, or any final thoughts to our audience?
Well, I would say this, that whether you have children on the spectrum or not, this is a global issue, and we all need to be kind to each other, conscientious to help each other. And we can do that more if we have some financial freedom. So if you could learn this skill that I'm sharing with you, I was blessed to stumble into it because I was very intentional about trying to figure this solution out for my children, that you can do a lot more to help other organizations. So I'm very grateful to be related to Autism Today. Karen, you've been a rock, a kindness, a friend, just a kindred spirit, because she has 7 children. I have 8. We have 15 together. It's like, it's like a, baseball team and more. But I would encourage everybody, remember, it's always buying assets to pay for your liabilities. You do that, you're not going to feel the pressure of everything that you have to learn being a mom or a parent of a child on the spectrum.
Well, keep on sparkling. You are a star.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you so much, Melissa. And we will say ta-ta for now. Okay, thank you.